Here's a video of me and my baby. Hi guys, so today I decided that I would like to do a video about my VBAC experience. I think a lot of women don't really know much about it, and they should. I also think that it should be an option that should be available to everybody. What made me want to do mine is that I had actually came across it somehow on YouTube, and I seen different women saying how they had successful VBACs, and I also wanted to give it a try because with my previous birthing experience, I had to have a C-section, and it was very hard to recover from having a C-section. So it had to be at least 24 months in between the time frame of having my last child to the child that I just recently had. And so I was an eligible candidate for it. So I definitely wanted to give it a try. So this video is just to encourage any other woman who may be interested in having a VBAC, which is a vaginal birth after cesarean. I would strongly encourage it. I would recommend that, if you are a good candidate for it, to try it. If you're not, then of course we want to make sure that health-wise you don't do anything that's going to be harmful for you or for the baby. So, okay, I have to adjust the camera because I feel like you can hardly see me. So, basically, I was seeing the midwives. I decided to go with the midwives because I feel like they listen to you a little bit more, and I just wanted to try experiencing it with the midwives. So from the very start, I did inform them that I wanted to have a VBAC to see if I was eligible. Once they said that I was pretty adamant that that's the route that I wanted to go. Of course, we discussed like the risk factors that could come into play with everything. And I'm a spiritual person, so I just kind of was like, well, I'm just gonna kind of go with the flow. We'll go step by step, and then I kind of just prayed myself through the whole process. So ongoing, back to what I was saying as far as labor goes. I know a lot of people, once you get really big, you get really uncomfortable. For myself, my whole pregnancy was really uncomfortable. Once I found out I was pregnant, I was like, wow, I'm pregnant. Kind of didn't tell everybody, just kind of kept it on the low for a little while. And then I was excited because I was like, oh my gosh, I'm pregnant. I hadn't felt any symptoms. I felt really good. And then it was like a week into, so I was probably like 6 weeks. And that's when I start having all of the discomforts and stuff as far as the morning sickness, just not feeling good, just not able to get out the bed, just not really able to do very much for myself. It was just very, very uncomfortable. Fast forward, so pretty much throughout my pregnancy, I kind of was able to hang out, chill out. COVID's been going on, so I kind of lost my job through the process, but it was a blessing in disguise, so it all worked out. So I'm kind of all over the place with what I'm saying. So basically, what kind of helped me get going with the labor part was that me and my boyfriend, we were intimate probably like the day before I started having contractions. I checked to see if I can take any of the raspberry teas and all the teas that they recommend that you can take that can help you start having contractions, that can help you go into labor faster. And the midwives were like, no, we don't want you to do it just because you did have a C-section. There's a possibility that it can increase the uterine rupture because it might weaken the muscles right there or something. So I was like, okay, fine. So I decided to, try intimacy with my boyfriend, and the next day I was pretty much going into having my contractions. The contractions were maybe, I'd say, 20-30 minutes apart from each other. They were pretty intense, but not extremely intense because this would be my third kid, so I kind of know what really, really intense contractions are versus, oh, this might just be, pre-labor contractions. I dealt with that for about a day and a half, and they started to get worse and worse. So I would say after that day and a half had went by, my boyfriend was like, oh, how you doing? Doing okay? And then contractions getting worse and worse. So then that night, it was probably like 4 in the morning, we decided to go into labor and delivery. I have a little bit of footage of me in labor and delivery, so I probably will go ahead and insert some of it. Again, I was just not feeling the best at all, but the process went really well. So we went in, COVID going on, you have to wear your mask and everything. They checked me in, and I have like a little list of everything as to how it went. So once I got checked in, they had me wait for about 2 hours and to continue to have contractions and see how far I would dilate. So pretty much I was there for 2 hours. I went in wanting to go natural, so I was just like at first just trying to do the natural thing. So I'm in there just screaming, yelling, losing my mind, kind of, sort of, but no, not really screaming, yelling. But the contractions were pretty tough, so I was kind of just breathing through them and getting through the contractions. After 2 hours had went by, they came back in, they checked me, they told me they were going to go ahead and admit me to the hospital, and that we were going to go ahead and move forward with getting a COVID test done. So the COVID test was extremely uncomfortable. I had pretty much been quarantining most of the time, and every time I would go out or be around other people, I would wear a mask. So I wasn't too much concerned about if the test would come back, a positive test. I kind of knew it would come back negative just because I hadn't been really around a lot of people. So moving forward, they did come back and let me know, oh, your test was fine. It was very uncomfortable. They use like this really long toothpick. They poke it up in your nostril. Feels like it goes all the way in, and it brought a little tear to my eye. It was very uncomfortable, but a lot of people say that it doesn't bother them. It's not uncomfortable to them, but it was very uncomfortable to me. And so then after we did the COVID test and I continued to have contractions, we decided that I would get moved into another room. So that's how we knew things were moving along. Everything was going well. The nurses were doing really well. We kept our focus on trying to do the VBAC. The anesthesiologist came in, he talked to me. In the beginning, I didn't want to get an epidural because I don't really like the feeling of being numb. I kind of wanted to try my very best to go completely natural. So when he first came in and discussed everything with me, the pros, the risks, the cons, and all that stuff, I'm like, oh, thank you, but I don't think I'm gonna get an epidural. Moving to the next room, they pretty much had me sitting on a birthing ball to help me kind of keep everything going, and I kind of just go back and forth and just kind of move my body side to side on a birthing ball, and I did that for about another 2 hours or so. I walked around through the labor, and then it just started getting more and more uncomfortable. So I had, they came in, checked on me several times. They come and check on you. I just kept praying about it. I'm like, God, I really, really, really want to try to go natural. I really, really want to have a vaginal birth and all that stuff. And, it just got to the point where I was starting to get a little discouraged because I'm like, Jesus, these contractions really, really hurt. I don't think I can continue to deal with these contractions. And I was starting to feel like I was failing, you know, because I'm like, I really want to go natural. And so many people are like, go natural, go natural. So I talked to the nurse about it. I kind of, you know, told her like, well, you know what, it's getting really uncomfortable. I think that I probably should go ahead and get the epidural. So that's when we decided to have the anesthesiologist come in, and he went on ahead and performed the epidural. And so I was probably, I want to say maybe 6 centimeters, you know. So still had a little ways to go with everything. And so I would say 6 or 7, pretty close. Right on the neck of not being able to get the epidural, but just right on time. So he came in, and I was trying not to holler, and I was trying to be still, and they had you kind of hunch your back over in this little weird position. I was holding onto a pillow. I was hunched over. My boyfriend was in front of me, holding my legs, and the nurse was just kind of talking me through everything. I could feel the needle go in. Once the needle went in, then it just kind of felt like water was coming down from the top of my back all the way down. And then I just started noticing on my right side first is when the numbness came in, and he was like, well, let me know when you feel the numbness coming in. And started on the right side. So I'm like, I can feel it on the right side. And he's like, okay, great, we know it's working. We don't need to give you a lot, because I was already so far that it wasn't necessary for them to give me a whole bunch, I suppose. So I could feel my feet getting numb. And then they had me kind of sit back, and I sat, you know, back in the hospital bed, and they had to pretty much do everything for me at that point, because it wasn't very much that I could do. I could feel everything still, but I couldn't move as much. So then I was positioned on my side. So since I could feel most of the epidural on the right side, they wanted me to feel it on the left side too. So they kind of switched me over, and they kind of had me land sideways. And I had like this, it's like a ball that looks like a peanut, and it went in between my legs. And so my legs were propped open with the ball in there in between. And then I would say probably, you know, I was still contracting, and I could still feel the contractions, but they weren't as bad as they were before. So then pretty much, I'd say it seemed like 20-30 minutes went by, and I just felt like this weird sensation of having to poop. So I told the nurse, like, I feel like I have to, you know, take a number 2. And so the nurse was like, oh, that's normal. That's because you got the epidural, so your bowels are loosening up, and so you're going to feel like you have to poop. And so it's real embarrassing. So I'm like, this is embarrassing. I just want to wipe myself. And they've seen this 1,001 times, but for me, I'm like, this is gross. You know, it's like, I feel like I got to poop. So anywho, she's like, you're fine. So she left out. She's like, call me if you need me for anything. So then I'm sitting there, and I'm having contractions, and I'm, you know, just kind of watching the clock and seeing how everything's going on. And I tell my boyfriend, I'm like, ooh, I feel something down there. And it just felt like something was just like bulging out of, you know, my vagina. And I'm like, what is that? And so I kind of touched down there to feel it, and it felt like a ball or something, a balloon, like an actual balloon, like a latex balloon. That's how I felt. And so I tell my boyfriend, I'm like, and the nurse had just left out. It was like probably 5-10 minutes of her actually just being in there, and I was telling her how I felt like I had to poop. So then he's like, well, tell him, come back in here. So then we get the nurse back in there, and so the nurse is like, oh my gosh, yay, you're ready to have the baby. And so I was just like praying about it, because I got nervous all over again. And I'm like, oh my gosh, it's about to be time to have the baby. I'm excited, I'm nervous, I'm scared. I have all these emotions at the same time. So then pretty much the midwives come in, they get everything ready. They turn me back over onto my backside. They had to help me hold my legs up. So they hold my legs up. I think they got, you know, they made my water, broke my water. And I think they ruptured the, you know, the sac that the baby is in. And then I just remember them telling me, we're going to tell you to push, you're going to have to push, and we're going to have you take breaks in between while you're pushing. So, you know, they're like, take a deep breath. And so my boyfriend is there, he's holding my leg up, and there's another nurse holding my other leg up, and they're like, don't worry about what's going on, because again, like I said, I keep feeling like I have to take a poop, which is so weird. So they're telling me to push, so 1, 2, 3, push. I push, 1, 2, 3, push. I push again. So about, I'd say maybe the 5th or 6th time of me pushing, the baby was coming out, and so she did come out. I did tear a little bit. They had to give me some stitches, and you know, they dissolve on their own. They did skin to skin, so as soon as she came out, I was able to hold her on my chest, which was a beautiful feeling. I have a picture of that also that I will insert into the clip. So I'd say probably shortly after having the baby, I could feel the numbness starting to go away, because you know, they unhooked me and all that stuff from that. The anesthesiologist came in and unhooked me from that, and pretty much everything went well. I have to say I had an absolutely wonderful VBAC experience. If you know of anyone who's interested in it, tell them to check out my video or check out other women's video, and to definitely give it a try, because it's so worth it. My healing process has been absolutely great.